show you how great I am.
I'm gonna float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. I am the king of the world.
And I'm better now. I'm experienced now, professional. I done something new for this fight. I done wrestled with an alligator. Fast. Last night I cut the light off in my bedroom. Hit the switch, was in the bed before the room was dark. I'm so mean, I make medicine sick.
I am the greatest.
G5 Jeff TV, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Please share this video, support your boy. Support good content at all times. All social media is in the description box, and please hit that bell icon so you can be notified when I drop that heat. This is the official breakdown and prediction video for George Groves versus Callum Smith. It's the final of the World Boxing Super Series at 168 pounds. I'm sorry I didn't mention this fight previously. This should be a good one. This should be a really, really good fight. Just, I don't understand why it's in Saudi Arabia. Like, somebody needs to explain that to me. Like, why Saudi Arabia? And then on top of that, I think it only holds like 10,000. So I'm confused. Like, I'm confused. This is a head scratcher. You know, I'm not understanding. You know, y'all know me. If I don't understand something, I come out and say I don't understand it, and I need help understanding it. In this situation, I need some damn help. Why would you put a fight like this in Saudi Arabia? Like, what's the connection? What I'm not understanding. Like, what's the connection? But anyway, George Groves, Callum Smith, this is a good fight. Now, in terms of official breakdown and prediction videos, you know how G5 Jeff TV do. I'm 24-3 with 3 draws in my official breakdown and prediction videos. So we pretty much, we hit the nail on the head. We usually get it spot on. And with this fight, I did do some film study on this fight, on both fighters. More Callum Smith than I did George Groves. I'm pretty familiar with George Groves. And for the first time, like, none of my film study mattered. None of it mattered. And I'm going to tell you why none of it mattered. Because this fight for me was pretty easy to pick. It's pretty easy to pick for me. Callum Smith, first of all, I love the height. He's 6'3". You know, when they did they face-to-face, I mean, he was pretty imposing, you know what I'm saying, over George Groves. He got George Groves by at least, I would say at least 4 inches at a minimum. He got him by like 4 inches. And Callum Smith is a skilled fighter. He is a skilled fighter. Sometimes I feel like he doesn't use that height enough. And I've always been a big fan of a guy that tall and with long arms. You don't just allow a guy to walk inside without having them pay a price. I like to call it an admission fee before they walk up in the front door. You know, I just don't like that. Any fighter that's tall that allows that to happen on a consistent basis. But Callum Smith is a good fighter. The Smith brothers are just good fighters, period. You know, I like how they get down in the ring. And I think Callum Smith has had a pretty smooth path to the finals. He's had a smooth path to the finals. And that's not a bad thing. Like, when you're in a tournament style situation, you don't want to be going through the gauntlet because you don't want to be dead tired once the final come. So I'm not knocking it at all. But when you look at Callum Smith's career, I mean, you really got to ask yourself, like, who is he beat? Like, who has he been in the ring with to show you who he really is? So, in my mind and in my opinion, Callum Smith is a untested commodity. Now, I got a lot of G5 Jeff TV family out there in the UK, and y'all can tell me if I'm wrong or not. I don't mind, people that are closer to a situation tell me whether they think I'm right or I'm wrong in the situation. My personal opinion is that Callum Smith is unproven and he hasn't been in the ring with anybody to show you who he really is. Again, in the comment section, my UK folks, y'all let me know if I'm wrong or right about that. Now, how do I think he matches up versus George Groves? I think he matches up well with George Groves from a style standpoint, from a scheme standpoint. The fact that he is the fresher fighter, the younger fighter, and he had the easier path to get to the World Boxing Super Series final. So he has a lot of things going for him going into this fight, and it's not a home game for George Groves either. So that's another good thing for Liam Smith. So I don't think he could have asked for anything more as far as how the chips stack up pre-fight. So he's in a really, really good position. Now, George Groves, he's coming off of a shoulder injury. He's coming off of a huge victory in the semifinals over Chris Eubank Jr. That was basically a grudge match. A lot of trash talking going on. I did a breakdown and prediction video for that fight. I pretty much called that one spot on. But that was a fight that I think was bigger than the tournament. The fact that them two was getting it on, I think, was just big enough. But he took care of business versus Chris Eubank Jr. And he had a shoulder injury, basically got that repaired, rehabbed, and now George Groves is ready to go. Now, that wasn't an easy fight with Chris Eubank Jr. It looked like it was physically just a rough fight. It was just a rough fight. It was headbutts, cuts, shoulder injury. Like, physically, after that fight, I'm pretty sure he didn't go to the pub and go get a drink afterwards. Like, they both was pretty nicked up pretty nice in that fight. So when somebody's coming off of an injury, especially a shoulder injury, you always have to wonder how they're going to respond their first fight back. So for him to basically take on Callum Smith in the World Boxing Super Series final, fresh off of a shoulder injury, that says a lot about George Groves, period. But it is a concern. It is a concern because that's one of the worst injuries you can have as a boxer is a shoulder injury at the end of the day. So hopefully the shoulder holds up and that won't be an issue during the course of the fight. This is crazy. I got a big old chopper airplane going on in the background. They must know I'm doing a video and shit. That's crazy. That's crazy. Big ass plane too. Like, that's crazy. My bad for the background noise, on that. I usually ignore it, but that joint was so damn loud. I had to say something about that. Y'all probably thought I was at the airport or something. Like, I'm just sitting on the block right now. But George Groves, you got to watch the shoulder injury. If it holds up, that's one thing. But if George Groves is fighting as if he's concerned about the shoulder, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a really, really big problem. Another thing with George Groves is he has to overcome the height. He has to get... You would think with George Groves, you would think like with a guy that's 6'3", you want to get all the way inside. But distance is going to be extremely important in this fight. It's going to be extremely important in this fight because George Groves can't be too close to where he's smothering his work. And then he can't be on the outside. Like, he has to find that between mid-range and close. So his distance and his angles is going to be critical in this fight. And another thing from a strategic standpoint is George Groves' jab. George Groves' jab is going to be extremely important. If he abandons the jab, he's going to have big problems in this fight versus Liam Smith. He's going to have huge problems. He cannot abandon the jab. He has to throw it on a consistent basis. It doesn't have to be a power jab. It can just be a light jab, a rangefinder, jab to the head, jab to the chest, jab to the body, switch angles, because at the end of the day, George Groves is going to have to get close enough to Callum Smith to be able to land his money shots at the end of the day. But this is the reason why I said the film study didn't matter. Like, I watched some tape on Callum Smith. I watched like the last maybe like 2-3 fights of George Groves, and the technical standpoint of the fight in terms of what both guys got to do, it was pretty clear to me. But who I'm picking in this fight had nothing to do with my film study. At the end of the day, anybody that knows me as a boxing fan or a person that just predicts fights, prior history is very important to me. Prior history is extremely important. Bottom line is, George Groves has been in with the better competition. He's been in with Chris Eubank Jr. He's been in with Carl Froch twice. He's been in the ring with Badu Jack. He's been in the ring with other quality fighters. I mean, back in the day, he was in there with James DeGill, Glenn Johnson, if you want to go way, way back. George Groves is accustomed to facing good competition. George Groves is used to being in the moment. George Groves is used to being in front of big crowds. He's used to being in the ring when it's money time. When it's time to bring the bacon home, George Groves is usually in that situation. Callum Smith is unproven. I'm not saying that Callum Smith can't win this fight. I'm not saying that Callum Smith is not more skilled than George Groves. What I'm saying is, I trust George Groves more than I trust Callum Smith. And that's really, really what it comes down to at the end of the day. So my prediction for this fight is George Groves will win this fight by unanimous decision. I think it's going to be a close fight. 115, 113, 116, 112, George Groves. And I do think George Groves is going to get a knockdown in this fight. I think he's going to get a knockdown in this fight. But I think for the first time in my official breakdown and prediction video history, I'm choosing a guy to win a fight strictly because I trust him more than the other guy. That has nothing to do with the technical aspect. And that's what you have here with me choosing George Groves over Callum Smith. Now, y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. G5 Jeff TV. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Please share this video. Support your boy. Support good content at all times. Appreciate y'all. Peace.